In the labyrinthine corridors of international criminal investigation, certain cases transcend mere tragedy to become something far more disturbing. They evolve into puzzles so complex, so riddled with contradictions and impossibilities that they seem to mock the very concept of truth itself. The disappearance of a 3-year-old British girl from a Portuguese resort in 2007 represents one such case where documented facts intertwine with inexplicable anomalies to create a mystery that defies conventional understanding. Before we dive deeper, subscribe to follow our quest for answers. It was May 3rd, 2007, just after 9 in the evening in the coastal resort town of Praia da Luz, Portugal. The Ocean Club complex stretched along the Algarve coastline, its whitewashed apartments overlooking the Atlantic under a star-filled sky. The temperature had dropped to a comfortable 18 degrees Celsius, and a gentle breeze carried the scent of salt and jasmine through the resort grounds. Apartment 5 sat on the ground floor of the resort complex, its sliding patio doors facing a narrow street that led directly to the beach. The apartment had been rented by the McCann family, Gerald and Kate, both doctors from Leicestershire, England, who had arrived 4 days earlier with their 3 children. Their twin sons, Sean and Amelie, were 2 years old, while their daughter Madeleine had recently turned 3. The evening had followed what appeared to be a routine pattern established over the previous night. The McCann parents had joined 7 friends at the resort's tapas restaurant, located approximately 50 meters from their apartment across a small plaza. The group had implemented what they called a checking system, where adults would take turns walking back to their respective apartments to verify that their children remained safely asleep. At approximately 9:15, Gerald McCann performed his scheduled check on apartment 5A. According to his subsequent statement to Portuguese authorities, he entered through the unlocked patio doors and observed all 3 children sleeping peacefully in their beds. Madeleine lay in her single bed nearest the window, while the twins occupied travel cots positioned along the opposite wall. The apartment's layout would prove significant to later investigations. The children's bedroom contained a window facing the street with external shutters that could only be opened from inside the room. The front door of the apartment remained locked, accessible only through the resort's main reception area. The patio doors, however, had been left unlocked to facilitate the checking routine. At 9:30, Matthew Oldfield, one of the dining companions, offered to check the McCann apartment during his own rounds. He reported listening at the bedroom door but did not enter the room, hearing no sounds of distress or movement. This detail would later become a source of considerable debate among investigators. The critical moment arrived at approximately 10 o'clock when Kate McCann returned to apartment 5 for her scheduled check. Upon entering through the patio doors, she immediately noticed that the children's bedroom door, which had been left slightly ajar, now stood completely open. Moving toward the bedroom, she discovered that Madeleine's bed was empty, the covers thrown back as if the child had simply vanished. The initial police response revealed the first of many disturbing anomalies that would characterize this case. The bedroom window stood open, its external shutters raised and the curtains drawn back. However, forensic examination later determined that the shutters showed no signs of forced entry and the window mechanism functioned normally. The shutters could only be operated from inside the room, yet no evidence suggested an intruder had entered through this route. Portuguese authorities launched an immediate search operation, coordinating with local volunteers and resort staff. The Guarda Nacional Republicana established a perimeter around the resort complex, while search teams combed the surrounding area. However, despite extensive efforts involving hundreds of volunteers and multiple agencies, no trace of Madeleine McCann was discovered. The investigation soon revealed a series of witness statements that defied logical explanation. Jane Tanner, one of the dining companions, reported seeing a man carrying a child near the resort complex at approximately 9:15. Her description detailed a dark-haired individual wearing beige trousers and a dark jacket carrying what appeared to be a sleeping child in pink pajamas. The timing of this sighting coincided precisely with Gerald McCann's check of apartment 5A, yet he reported seeing nothing unusual during his walk along the same route. More disturbing still was the testimony of Martin Smith, an Irish tourist who reported seeing a different man carrying a child near the beach area at approximately 10 o'clock. Smith's description differed significantly from Tanner's account, describing a man of different build and appearance. The child in Smith's sighting appeared to be wearing different clothing entirely, yet the timing suggested this could have been the same incident. The forensic evidence presented even more confounding mysteries. British sniffer dogs, brought in weeks after the initial disappearance, detected traces of blood and human decomposition in apartment 5A. The dogs showed particular interest in areas behind the living room sofa and in the parents' bedroom wardrobe. However, subsequent laboratory analysis of samples taken from these locations proved inconclusive, with Portuguese authorities unable to confirm the presence of any biological evidence. The dogs also reacted to a rental car hired by the McCann family 25 days after Madeleine's disappearance. The vehicle, a silver Renault Scenic, had been used by the family for trips around the local area while they remained in Portugal to assist with the investigation. The canine alerts occurred in the car's boot area and around the driver's side door. Yet again, forensic analysis failed to substantiate these findings with concrete evidence. Perhaps most unsettling was the discovery of what appeared to be a coordinated network of suspicious activities in the weeks leading up to Madeleine's disappearance. Portuguese police files, released years later, revealed reports of unusual behavior by unidentified individuals in the Praia da Luz area. Resort staff reported seeing unfamiliar men observing children's activities around the pool and playground areas. These individuals, described as well-dressed and carrying cameras or mobile phones, would disappear when approached by security personnel. The investigation uncovered evidence of at least 4 separate incidents involving suspicious approaches to British children in the Algarve region during the months preceding Madeleine's disappearance. In each case, witnesses described men attempting to engage children in conversation while their parents were momentarily distracted. The descriptions of these individuals varied, but all shared certain characteristics: well-groomed appearance, fluent English, and detailed knowledge of the children's routines and family circumstances. The timeline of events on May 3rd itself contained numerous inconsistencies that investigators never successfully resolved. Mobile phone records showed multiple calls between the dining companions during the evening, yet several participants later claimed to have no memory of these communications. The restaurant staff provided conflicting statements about the group's behavior, with some describing them as relaxed and jovial, while others noted an atmosphere of tension and anxiety even before Madeleine's disappearance was discovered. Security footage from the resort complex revealed another layer of mystery. Cameras positioned around the Ocean Club grounds had captured various individuals moving through the area during the crucial time period, yet several figures remained unidentified despite extensive investigation. One recording showed a person of indeterminate gender walking along the beach path at approximately 9:45, carrying what appeared to be a bundle or bag. This individual seemed to deliberately avoid the illuminated areas, moving through shadows and disappearing from camera coverage at regular intervals. The Portuguese investigation, led by Inspector Gonçalo Amaro, faced unprecedented international pressure as the case attracted global media attention. However, the intense scrutiny seemed to hinder rather than assist the investigation. Crucial evidence was potentially compromised by the influx of journalists, tourists, and well-meaning volunteers who contaminated the crime scene before proper forensic procedures could be implemented. The case files revealed the existence of a previously undisclosed witness whose testimony added yet another layer of complexity to the mystery. A resort employee, whose identity remains protected under Portuguese law, reported seeing lights moving in apartment 5 during the early hours of May 4th, several hours after the disappearance had been reported. The witness described the lights as moving in a systematic pattern, as if someone was conducting a thorough search of the premises. However, official logs showed no authorized personnel in the apartment during this time period. The investigation also uncovered evidence of a disturbing pattern of communication failures between various agencies involved in the case. Critical information was apparently lost or misfiled, witness statements were recorded incorrectly, and forensic evidence was mishandled or destroyed. These failures appeared systematic rather than coincidental, suggesting either gross incompetence or deliberate obstruction. In September 2007, Portuguese authorities named the McCann parents as formal suspects in their daughter's disappearance. This development, based largely on the inconclusive forensic evidence and perceived inconsistencies in the parents' statements, transformed the case from a missing person investigation into something far more complex and controversial. The decision was later reversed, but the damage to the investigation's credibility was irreparable. The case files contained references to what investigators termed anomalous communications intercepted during the investigation. These communications, allegedly monitored by Portuguese intelligence services, suggested the existence of a coordinated effort to influence the investigation's direction. The content of these communications remains classified, but their existence implies that unknown parties had a vested interest in the case's outcome. Years later, the emergence of additional evidence would only deepen the mystery. In 2013, British authorities, conducting their own review of the case, identified 38 individuals of interest, including several who had been in the Praia da Luz area during the relevant time period, but had never been questioned by Portuguese investigators. Among these individuals were several with criminal records related to child exploitation, yet none had been considered suspects in the original investigation. The British investigation also revealed the existence of a previously unknown witness who reported seeing a man carrying a child toward the beach area at approximately 10:30 on May 3rd. This sighting, which occurred 30 minutes after Kate McCann discovered her daughter missing, suggested that if the witness was accurate, Madeleine might still have been in the immediate area long after the initial search had begun. Most disturbing of all was the discovery of what appeared to be a systematic pattern of similar disappearances across Europe during the same time period. Children matching Madeleine's description had vanished under remarkably similar circumstances from resort locations in Spain, France, and Italy. In each case, the disappearances occurred from ground floor accommodations with easy access during evening hours when parents were dining nearby. Yet no connection between these cases was ever officially established. The investigation files contained references to what authorities termed parallel inquiries conducted by unspecified agencies. These inquiries, apparently running concurrent with the official investigation, involved surveillance activities and witness interviews that were never disclosed to Portuguese authorities. The nature and scope of these parallel inquiries remain classified, but their existence suggests that the case involved elements beyond a simple child abduction. In the years following Madeleine's disappearance, the case continued to generate new evidence and theories, yet none provided the breakthrough that investigators sought. Witnesses came forward with additional sightings, forensic techniques improved and were reapplied to existing evidence, and international cooperation expanded to include agencies from multiple countries. However, each new development seemed to raise more questions than answers. The case files conclude with a reference to ongoing investigations by multiple agencies, suggesting that despite the passage of time, the search for answers continues. However, the sheer volume of contradictory evidence, failed leads, and unexplained anomalies has created a mystery so complex that it may never be fully resolved. The disappearance of Madeleine McCann has evolved from a tragic crime into something approaching a metaphysical puzzle where the boundaries between documented fact and inexplicable mystery have become permanently blurred. What do you think really happened during those crucial minutes when a 3-year-old girl vanished without a trace from a locked resort apartment? Share your thoughts in the comments below and subscribe for more investigations into cases that challenge our understanding of reality itself.